about Robbins. I don't recall seeing him play on Saturday. I just want to see if this is an issue if he's banged up or was one of those things where the rotation he just wasn't in it for that game.
No, he's a little banged up, so he's questionable for this week. Just trying to get him back to health. So it wasn't one we were expecting initially, but yeah, it's health. It's not. It wasn't because of the rotation.
Tom, I guess just asking, we asked you about Jalen Lucas a few weeks ago, just in terms of getting him a little bit more involved and some more touches. But how have you seen him kind of process that in these last couple games? It seems like we've seen more of him, and maybe for more sustained stretches and in kind of different ways in the offense. How have you seen him maybe take some of that experience back and process it and try to get better from it?
Yeah, I think it's created a lot more confidence in him in his execution of all the variety of things that a running back has to be able to do in our system, and he's got a lot of talent as we can see, and but obviously he's young and he's just still working through all that. But yeah, I think you see the intentional desire for him to be able to get more touches is real, and that's what we're doing, and he makes the most of them. So we're just going to continue to do that each and every week as he continues to grow and get more comfortable with his technique and fundamentals and being able to execute those, all different things he has to do in our running back position as well as in the return game. So very talented player that we're just trying to continue to grow in our system.
Dustin and Jack.
Hey, Tom, speaking of Jalen, obviously he gets a few more reps last week. You obviously had Donovan McCauley obviously get to throw the ball as well. What's the value of having, sort of second and third line guys that can get you an explosive player you can do some gadget stuff with? What's that do for unpredictability for an offense, and also just how does that make them more difficult to game plan for as a defensive guy?
Yeah, I think that anytime you've got guys, that are on the field that the defense has to worry about something unique or special that they can do is just to your advantage, And like you said, you got a guy like Donovan that's played quarterback and the different things he can do with the ball in his hand, and then you got a guy like Jalen who's obviously got tremendous quickness and burst and has a really he has short speed and long speed and that quickness piece. So that gives him a chance to be able to make plays in multiple ways of him touching the ball, even whether it's in the backfield or on the perimeter or in the return game. So, yeah, I think the more guys you got like that, it's better for you. I know defensively that creates issues for us, having to account for where those guys are. And basically you have to make sure you know where they are at, where they're lined up at all times on the field. And sometimes you even make your calls adjusted to those things. So it definitely is a positive for us, and we got to keep taking advantage of it.
And Jim.
Hey, Tom. You've obviously rotated a lot of personnel along the offensive line this season. Do you feel like you and Coach Carey are maybe getting a better sense of who that best five is, or do you think that rotation will kind of continue? And what have you thought about some of the younger guys, maybe like Sales and who's kind of stepped in recently?
Well, I would say it is an ongoing thing. I think I was asked that initially about making some changes, or just how that would look in the first week of going into last week, and we were going to try and keep it consistent, which we did. Kept rotating in Josh, Sales, and Khalil Benson, and that will continue. I see their role growing. We really like those guys. They've continued to get better each and every week. Obviously, they're young. They're both redshirt freshmen, but they're big athletes that care a whole bunch, work really, really hard. Our Lions had another good week working together, worked extremely hard, which I love that about that group and the way they pulled together through all this. And I think those two guys really have stuck out to me, and so we're going to continue to grow them in their development, but we're going to be able to have multiple guys that we can rotate in there. And I don't think we've still settled in on that top or that best five yet as we go through this here with Coach Carey going into week 2, but that's definitely moving forward with that, and that's something we're always talking about.
And then Seth.
Hey, Tom, how are you today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good, sir. I want to ask about Josh Henderson. I know everyone asks about different people getting touches and whatnot, but he's one that, as I look at his stats, he's had 52 carries this year, 211 yards, but 4.1 average and 3 touchdowns. And receiving, he's got 16 catches for 214 yards, a 13.4 average, 44 along with 3 more touchdowns. He seems like someone that just has to be gotten into the flow of the offense more, the ball into his hands a lot more.
Yeah, he's just been, as you mentioned, those numbers don't lie, and he's been very productive, when he has touched the ball. And so, yeah, I think, you go through and, we have different guys that we target and say, hey, we got to get these guys involved. And his name is now in that group, and so there's no question. We really love what he's able to do. As you mentioned, he's scoring with the ball in his hand as a running back, running the ball. He's catching footballs and scoring in that regard and doing a lot of things just like like, I felt like in the beginning he had that versatility was his strength, and he's just been way more explosive and dynamic and productive than I think anybody could have forecast. So, which is awesome for him and for us. So, yeah, we definitely got another guy you want to be able to continue to rotate in and get touches. And, with the tempo we play with, we're going to get a lot of snaps. So it gives those guys more opportunities. You see us playing with some two running back sets more than we have in the beginning. And so that's definitely on purpose to get your best players on the field. So that whole process continues as you continue to get, guys in the fold, receivers, running backs, tight ends, and get them utilized. So, yeah, that's the challenge and the balance of being able to utilize the guys you got. We do have several guys. We mentioned several guys across the board here, different positions that have stepped up, and Josh is one of them for sure. So just so proud of him. Like I said all along, man, what a super person, great young man, so dependable, tough guy, smart guy that has earned the respect of his teammates pretty quickly.
When you talk to Coach Bell, is there a way that you guys are actively working to get these specific people into the offense?
Oh, yeah. And so that's probably one of the biggest things we do talk about. And he probably gets tired of me asking this, but just as far as just the whole, okay, how many touches each guy here? What's the plan to get this guy? What's the plan to get this guy? And yeah, it's a constant thing. And that's, I would say, a very important part of what we're trying to do, and just continue to keep guys fresh, healthy, utilized, and maximized. And that's definitely something that like I said, we probably spend more time talking about for us, he and I, than anything else.
Seth and Tyler?
Tom, I wanted to ask about DJ. Obviously, he came back last week and was kind of in a limited capacity, wasn't out there every drive or as much as he was able to kind of early in the season. I guess just how has he looked in practice this week, and how much do you think he'll be able to take on this week?
Well, I think he's progressed. So I see the workload increasing. Hamstrings are a tricky thing, as you go through those, and guys that have had them and know that you got to be very careful with them. And so when fatigue sets in a little bit, then your risk for re-injury goes up. So trying to maximize that as well with special teams. So I see that growing. He's had a good week. We feel like he didn't take any steps backwards. He didn't do anything to re-injure it on Saturday, and it has not during practice. So I see him playing more. I see him more involved, and I see him, kind of getting him back to hopefully the way he was early in the season.
All right, Tyler, and then Sammy, last one.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well.
I am, thank you.
I understand there's a story about James Evans, where I guess it was during a practice early on when he was here, where a punt was called and his shoes were untied, and so he went onto the field and tied his shoes on the field. I guess just, do you remember that? What's just everything you remember about that?
Well, that was kind of James being James, So sometimes his awareness to the game and kind of how things flow, that would be an example. I think I went off. I was not happy. I was kind of shocked at first. I've never had a kid. It's in the flow of what we're trying to do, and he just, he's obviously the guy we're snapping the ball to, and he just stops everything and then just casually ties his shoe like there's no sense of urgency, no recognition that that's not something you would do in that moment. You would obviously have that done before you got out there, or you would just, kick the ball. But anyways, it kind of goes back to his just kind of like kind of a cluelessness to the reality of how things maybe work in our sport. So we laughed about it afterwards. I wasn't laughing in the moment for sure, but he is a fun guy to make fun of and tease, because he just kind of, he's funny, but he doesn't even mean to be funny. And so that was definitely what I do remember that vividly. And but yeah, I'm sure we probably have several stories like that where he just kind of just prances along in his own little way and oblivious to what you do and you don't do in football. But he's learning, he's growing, so we're excited he's here and he's getting better every week.
Sammy, last one.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
I wanted to ask about the Rutgers quarterback. They play 3.5 to count Johnny Langdon at quarterback. What kind of focus do you have to have on defense to know which guys coming off the sideline, out of the huddle, and personnel groupings like that? And how difficult is it to prepare for 3 or 4 different guys who can take snaps?
Well, I would say it's challenging. There's so many unknowns right now. stating that all three are available really for the first time probably in a while. And then, as you mentioned, Langdon plays, in there quite a bit, as a wildcat type quarterback, but he can't throw the football. So, it's interesting how they do it. They all can run, so that's a consistent variable for them, and they all have different strengths and things that they do really well. So, definitely challenging. We're very aware, and we're going to be very aware of which quarterback's in the game, and if they have multiple quarterbacks in the game. So, just trying to take full advantage of that. Obviously, with the change in the coordinator position, makes it even more difficult because you don't know what they're going to do with that. So you got, once again, I think I said this earlier, but just the fact that you have to be able to have a conceptually based plan that's going to have to be very adaptable to which quarterback they end up using. There's no doubt they're going to use more than one. They've done that every single game, whoever was healthy. So definitely makes it challenging for sure, but they do have a similar skill set with the group in the fact that they all are good runners and they all can throw the football. So you just got to be able to maximize, who's on the field, and we're going to do a great job of trying to have a good call matched up with who's in that position. So, but at the end of the day, they can only snap it to one guy at a time. So whoever's behind the center there, we're going to be, and the plan is to be in great position to maximize our strengths of our calls with what we think they're going to do.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it. Have an awesome day. Leo.